So this just has me thinking when you brought up the term parasitic. I've referred to the central bank many times as an economic parasite.
Yeah.
Do you? I would say I'm convinced that the founders of the Federal Reserve knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly what the institution was designed to do. Do you think the Jerome Powell and other governors of the modern age, do you think they know what they're doing? Or are they literally, have they just drank the Keynesian Kool-Aid and they're just along for the
I
ride?
I like to think that from their vantage point, um, they are trying their best to keep order, right? And when you look at, well, what's the opposite of order? The opposite of order is chaos. When you look at how they're trying to manage it, they're pulling the levers to extend order as long as possible. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, is there another solution that they could implement? Yes, there is. And the solution is effectively, stop manipulating the money. Now, if they do that, they're going to create chaos like almost immediately. Right. And so I think they're in a catch-22 situation. It's the ultimate catch-22.
Yeah.
Because if they do that, there's going to, most of your market participants, a majority of your market participants are not going to understand the why. They're not going to agree with the decision. They're going to have social unrest. And, what would that spiral into? So it's almost like a known chaos that they would implement with the hope of order restoring itself in some kind of peaceful way. Whereas if they continue to do what they're doing, which is QE, which is free money for people that have assets, or the free bidding of the valuation of assets because they're just, stepping into the market and manipulating the bond market. UBI, they're doing that, which is instead of giving it to the rich people, which is pretty much what QE does. They're now giving it to everybody else, but now they're creating a nasty incentive structure where people don't want to work.
Yeah.
And not be productive members of society. And so either choice to add more money into the system so that there is just some type of liquidity in the system to be used, because it's all nesting itself and pulling itself into the valuation of asset values. They're in this really odd situation that neither one of those things really solves the problem. Now, what's really interesting about Bitcoin is it supplies a solution to what we're describing. Central bankers don't necessarily have to say they like it, but at the same time might see it as a solution. And if they would see it as a solution, let's say I'm Jerome Powell and I understand how Bitcoin works, but I also understand how more and more liquidity needs to be provided into the system so chaos doesn't ensue, like a bridging event where the money flows into this new thing and maybe there's this chance. So like that could absolutely be the case, because his actions would not be any different than what they are right now and what they will likely be in the future. So I guess for me, I'm a little hesitant, and maybe my Twitter is different than what I'm saying right now. But deep down inside, I think that I think that even if they understood all of this, I don't think it would necessarily require them to change what they're doing. I think, in fact, they would actually have to continue to do what they're doing to probably supply the most orderly redistribution of wealth the world has ever seen.
And so continue on the current path, but they would add Bitcoin advocation, just saying.
No, I think that I don't think they have to do that. I think as long as they're kind of mute on the issue, it's probably, because think about it. If they start coming out and saying, hey, you should probably be buying Bitcoin with all this money we're printing and stuffing into your hands, it'd be a free for all.
Yeah.
It'd be a free for all. So maybe you could make the moral argument that what they're doing is probably best for an orderly changeover. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see them as bad people. I don't see them as bad people. I see them as maybe lacking all the facts.
Yeah. Are they silent on the issue though? I'm not sure if I think he's just given the general response, like it's a speculative non-currency,
Yeah.
too volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because
I'd be a little surprised if some of them didn't understand it, to be honest with you, Robert. I think they do understand it.
One lie does come to mind is when he's saying that monetary policy and wealth inequality are unrelated. I remember him saying that not too many months ago. And that think
about what would happen. This is how I like to uncover, for me, what I believe to be the truth, right? As I always just take the 180 of whatever it is. So like that, where you were going with that question, let's take the 180 of it. Let's say that he goes out and he doesn't say that. He says it is causing major social unrest. All this money we printed for the last 10 years went straight into the wealthy. We have all the charts right here. proves it, right? Like people would, I mean, it would be disaster. It'd be chaos.
Yeah.
It would be chaos. So they can't say that, right? So let's look at their intentions. Are their intentions to create chaos, or are there intentions to create calm and a semblance of order?
Man, this is so sticky and ambiguous to me.
Yeah. And I don't want to sound like I'm sticking up for them. Trust me, I'm not. Because when I look at the damage that was done, like this situation that we're in and how we got here, in my very humble opinion, was the result of decisions that happened from like the 1940s up until like the 1980s. Like those decisions that were made in that space and that time were the input, almost like you were pushing a swing, right? That was the input that has delivered this situation that we're actually experiencing now in 2020. It's just taken a really long time to play out.
Yeah, I agree with you. But man, it is an impossible job because now it's like, okay.
Yeah, they've got an impossible job right now.
Can't tell the absolute truth, or you just throw things into pure chaos. So then you're forced to like, I mean, maybe not be deceptive, maybe just not conceal, maybe just conceal part of the truth to try and maintain this veneer of order as long as possible. It's a very ugly catch-22.
Chaos is going to happen. Well, I don't want to say chaos, but disruption is going to happen.
Yeah.
That is because the input for the disruption was already supplied. You can't take it back. You can't get in a time machine and take it back.
Yeah.
So if that's true, and please, I'm using the word if, in my opinion, it's true. The disruption's going to happen one way or another. It's just how it happens and what supplies it. And so, I think you had your discussions with Jeff. He does such an eloquent job talking about how this inflationary monetary policy, especially when it's applied for 80 years, has this massive technological incentive structure to create this deflationary force that becomes so large. It's like if you went to, the beach and there's a tidal wave coming, the biggest tidal wave you can imagine, like looking at other people on the beach and saying, yeah, we can stop that. Yeah. Like it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy talk. It's going to hit. It's just a matter of how it hits and where you're at when it hits. It's just,
and this gets to the core lesson we need to learn as a species, which I guess Bitcoin is really just going to be the answer once and for all, is that manipulation of the money always ends in disaster. You either have deflationary shock back to reality, or you have inflationary crack up boom, which is hyperinflation. It's never worked out any other way. It's not like we've ever.
It's a force of manipulation that's supplied into the environment. And when that happens, the environment will react. If I went and I poured toxic waste into a pond, the pond's going to naturally try to figure out a way to decompose that. Now it might result in like this weird, like red, plants growing on the side of the pond. The pond is figuring out a way to deal with the toxic waste that was poured into it.
Right.
My opinion is when you look at Bitcoin is that the red like grass that's taking the blow of the toxic waste that's been poured into the manipulation that's been poured into the global economy. And it's just a reaction. It's a natural, like biological kind of response to financial market manipulation.